have a fireside chat moderated by Apoorba, Kumar, Patranabish, Director, Cyber and Alliances, Grant, Thornton, Bharat, LLP. Please put your hands together, everyone, for Mr. Patranabish. And the panelists are Gaurav, Midha, Chief Information Security Officer, General Insurance Corporation of India. A round of applause, everybody, please. Welcome, sir. And Ambarish Singh, Chief Information Security Officer, Godrej and Boyce. Welcome, sir.
So good afternoon, everyone. Coming between a lunch and a panel is a tricky part always, right? So I'm not going to wait your lunch longer. Probably we'll wrap it up in 20 minutes. It's a very important and interesting topic, right? CISO prospect from a cloud enabler. Like a lot of folks out here have been using cloud, must be using cloud, must be hearing about cloud, right? We've got two very senior folks from the industry who have been using this. So we'll take their opinions. We'll have a fireside chat, especially discussions. That'll be extremely useful. So the way we're going to run this is that we have decided about 2 or 3 topics which are pertaining to cloud. We'll have prospects from both our senior panelists, their thoughts, and then open to questions for 5 minutes, and then we wrap up the session. That's the entire objective. So the first, right, let's talk about the reluctance to move to cloud, right? Your thoughts, your opinions.
Hello. So traditionally, the companies, those who are on-prem, right? So when the cloud burst happened, in today's also, if you see, traditional company has certain reluctance to move to cloud. That is due to the various reasons. One could be due to they are working fine on-prem, so why to move to cloud? Is it that everyone is moving to cloud, so I have to move? Or there is a business use case. Second thing is, their competence or skill set, right? They have people, those who can manage on-prem infra, servers, applications, business application, etc. on-prem, which is working fine. If they want to move to the cloud, what is the ROI? First thing. Second thing, they need to have a different skill set, right? And they're not able to visualize why particular industry, particular business should move to the cloud. If you talk about it, there's a different mindset, right? If you talk about startups, they are born in cloud, okay? Because they have the requirement of scalability, ready to go on the fly, they want to move fast, agility, etc. At the same time, you have the different industry, we talk about manufacturing, right? They think 100 times before moving to the cloud. Due to various reasons. One, the cost is one of the biggest reasons. Upfront cost. Second thing, the unknowns, okay? A third thing is the skills. They foresee that probably they may not be ready. Those are my initial thoughts.
Great thoughts, Ambarish. Gaurav, your thoughts?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ambarish. So I think when we talk about the cloud, I believe I have little different opinion. So gone are the days when people or organizations were hesitating or reluctant in moving to the cloud. There was a time like when there was so many questions, so many unknowns. Still they are there, but there are very few now. Most of them have been addressed, and there are hardly any hesitation to go towards the cloud. The only thing, whether it is viable or not viable, that is a different question which depends on the individual business, individual infra, what we have. Either it is an established company having the infra or IT resources or skill set or cost. There are multiple parameters. Like there's no defined answer that whether going to cloud is a correct option or not to going cloud is a correct option. But that hesitation or that reluctance, that is almost covered, I believe, that part. But yes, then there are other questions which, like for example, for a startup who just want to initiate something very quickly, and they don't want to, put capex for investing in having data center and all those things in place, which is time consuming, cost centric, and at the same time, you need particular skill sets to maintain that. For them, cloud is definitely a much better option. But at the same time, for some organization, probably 10, 20 years old organization who have their own data center, own resources, almost everything is in place. And just for the sake of going to cloud, if they are going to cloud, probably they are adding the cost to whatever they have already incurred. So having said that, going to cloud or not to cloud, there's no binary answer, yes or no, but there's no hesitation. At the same time, based on, even if in my organization, probably I may think of 40-50% things to move to the cloud and rest on the on-premise. And in most of the, as per my understanding, in most of the organization, it's kind of a hybrid culture nowadays. Almost every organization is some or other way they are on cloud, maybe one application, two applications, some by cloud. And at the same time, you will hardly find any organization who say that we are 100% on cloud. So there are always certain things based on the industry specific, based on the regulations they have on premise or something like that. But that hesitation part is covered. So just to answer that first part, yeah, I would say.
Absolutely. I think people talk about cloud open-ended, but I think a lot of CISOs, CIOs still talk about cloud. Is it required to go from a main application point of view, right? There's a conscious call which has been taken right now, way to move, right? Although it's an enabler, but there is a conscious call. The next step, what we see a lot of CISOs, CIOs talking about is a regulatory framework in India and the regulatory acceptance within your firm for moving it ahead. Would you throw some light that what do you see this, especially since I talk to a lot of legal folks, I talk to a lot of operation folks. Once we move a contract, what are the challenges do you see?
Yeah, so once you decided that you want to move to cloud, right? You start thinking about, during that decision, probably depends upon which industry you are operating in. If you are very highly regulated sector, probably you will think twice, thrice before moving to cloud. Take example of BFSI, maybe insurance sector, etc. Bunch of things, BFSI sector mainly. If you are not into that sector, then also you want to ensure that you want to do due diligence while selecting a particular partner. You want to talk about where my data will reside. Customer data, employees data, whatever the data, sensitive data. Sometimes you get into a discussion that some of the cloud partner will say your data will not reside, will reside in India, but your metadata will go to some other country. So those discussions becomes very critical and very pointed technical discussion. So currently, since we do not have any regulatory framework that data has to reside in India, I think data privacy bill may come next year sometime, right? A lot of things are happening at that front. But right now, what I see is a lot of organizations are doing due diligence. When you are having a contract, we are talking to the different partners where data is moving from on-prem to cloud. They want to ensure that data resides in India. That is where you see bunch of data centers are coming up. Even if Microsoft, AWS, Google, they open a bunch of data center due to this demand. And they know that this is the way India is moving towards. So I think making the contract watertight, first thing. Second thing, understanding the where data will reside in India itself. Because we talk about, even in India, which city, what is your DR site? Sometimes what happens, the cloud provider say that your primary will be in India, secondary could be in Singapore. So those discussions has started happening. That is a good thing. There is a sensitivity, there is a awareness, there is a more worry in the organization about the customer data moving from their on-prem to the cloud and cloud where the data will reside.
Super points on a data localization. I think all the cloud providers are now definitely, if you have to do business in India, localization is the way forward. Very true. Your thoughts?
Yeah. So yes, from that perspective, see, it's kind of a very subjective discussion. It varies from the industry to industry, and for heavily regulated industries like BFSI, where like for banks, RBI is there, and for insurance companies, IRDI is there to issue the guidelines and all that. So when all this cloud burst started a few years back, if you remember, initially companies like AWS and Azure, they were not having DCs in India. And then there was at least a minimum requirement from most of the regulators that your data should reside within India only. And nowadays, I think almost every big player, they have their DC, DR setups in India. Not only one, they have multiple setups in India. So that part is taken care. Now, but there are many thin lines out of these all. Like initially, when we talk about the cloud, like if we have moved to cloud, and we believe that they are more experts in terms of security and in terms of, so we are covered from all those angles. But if we go through the thin lines of our contracts and all that, for example, you are using Office 365, if something happens to your mails or Teams or SharePoint or OneDrive, who is responsible for that? Microsoft, if we go through that contract, they say that we are not responsible. We are responsible for the basic infra to keep your application up and running. If due to some attack, Your data is lost, your mails are lost, we are not responsible, it is the responsibility of the organization under shared responsibility model, which now people have started, knowing that fact from last some time. Even if today, if you see, I don't have the numbers, but number of organizations which are using Office 365, how many among them are backing up their data separately, either cloud to cloud or cloud to on-premise or somewhere? Still, they are not many. And they believe that we are on cloud with Microsoft, everything is protected. So that is one part, like data protection and security, ultimately that lies with the business, with the customer only, despite having that cloud setup. So having DC in India, that is one part, that is taken care, but other lines. Then second part, like at some point of time, if I feel that no, we want to come out of this cloud. So whether your contract defines any exit route, that is also equally important. See, what happened, if you see broadly, when this cloud, all this journey started, few years back, in most of the companies, in their boardrooms, in their senior management, they given the mandate to their IT teams that why we are not on cloud. We should be on cloud. Like if we are not on cloud, we are backwards, kind of. Even if some company, if they were having their all things in place, so cloud pe jana hai, so that's why they moved to cloud. Now, you take the example, there may be some application which probably we use once in a month. We were having the basic infra for that. We were having basic resources also for that. We moved to the cloud for the sake of cloud. Now, over the period of next 5 years, how much money I am additionally investing on that, despite having my basic infra. So, when we talk about the overall return of on investment on the longer run, that we need to see. So for any organization, we need to identify like what are the critical roads, or what are the roads which should be moved to cloud, and what should be reside on premise, and then along with the legal and regulatory framework, like your data in India, and then exit route, and then responsibility, who is responsible from security perspective, from data perspective, data protection, data privacy, all those things has to be considered while making a judicial decision to move to cloud or like that. That are my thoughts.
Brilliant point. I think Gaurav said some amazing points, especially in terms of, do you really want to go on cloud? Which are the applications which needs to go cloud? Second is that your data security is your responsibility, right? They're not going to secure your data. I think that's a brilliant point raised by Gaurav. Let's talk about cost, right? If I'm told to go on cloud, effectively on paper, what is the ROI?
Yeah, we are doing some calculation on this. We wanted to migrate certain application, around 200 application to cloud. So our ROI was around, after 2 years, we start getting the ROI. But what happens, the decision is difficult, right? If decision is coming from the business, because there is a revenue stream, there is a business opportunity, then your cloud migration, etc. projects gets done, right? It flies. But if you are, as a technology function, you want to migrate application to the cloud, there is no business benefit to it, probably you have a tough time. Okay. Because what business is saying that everything working fine and there is no complaints, so why you want to move to cloud? Unnecessary. They're not able to see the traditional application, like you have a bunch of thousands of vulnerabilities, which you cannot fix on-prem. You know that, because those were built around 40 years back. That technology is outdated. There's no support. If you want to upgrade that technology on-prem, there is a cost. That cost is huge because you need to have those skills which you do not have. So you want to move certain application to the cloud so that you move to the new stack. Once you move to a new stack from the operating system to the application stack, 2-tier to single-tier to 3-tier, a lot of vulnerabilities get automatically remediated because during the migration process, you do a lot of things, right? But crux of the matter is, if it is a business decision, probably budget discussion becomes easier. If it is a technology decision, it becomes very difficult.
Great thoughts, completely on the ROI. Your thoughts on ROI?
So again, this is a little difficult question to exactly calculate that. See, it depends. If I have 10 type of application, now there may be few applications which are critical, which we are using very heavily. There may be few which are hardly used, not critical, less important. Now, for critical one, I am more concerned in terms of their either OS update, patch update, their security part, their overall maintenance to maintain those applications. So I need to have a proper skill set in my organization to maintain that. I need to ensure that my hardware, software are up to date to comply with all the regulation, and at the same time, we are able to cater the requirement of scaling, agility, and everything. So for me, moving such kind of applications to the cloud make more sense rather than those applications which are hardly used, which are not that critical, and probably which can be maintained within with the internal team and internal infra. So in the longer run, if, as I said, for 4 or 5 years period of time, if we calculate, though that won't be the 100% calculation, but for such kind of application, probably we will be paying much more on the cloud than having it on the on-premise. But at the other end, those which we are using heavily, which requires like even there one day, if they are not updated, that can have a business impact. Probably it make more sense to go to the cloud.
Great thoughts. Last question, right? Any cloud discussion cannot end without speaking on either we move an application to on-prem versus cloud, right? The biggest dilemma in minds of a CISO is that, what do I do? So what do you think, and how would you take a stand based on the organization? How would you move forward?
The question is whether you develop on-prem or cloud, right? So as I said, moving to cloud is a strategic decision, okay? Once you decided that you want to move to cloud, so one is the parallel tracks. One is the older application you want to move. There is a whole bunch of exercise you have to do, assessment, etc. You need to look at what application, when they will move, bench or the priority, etc. Now once you decided that your new application development will happen on cloud, so you need to look at the low-code, no-code, cloud-native application development. You want to look at the CI/CD pipeline, DevSecOps, okay? Again, these things are very tightly coupled with the business you are in, okay? Talking about my previous company, Flipkart, DevSecOps is given, right? CI/CD, you want to go live, bunch of applications are going live every second week, right? And you have the microservices set up, you have container, etc. You want to ensure that those things are security is ensured. So, but if you are in different sector, it's all depend upon the which business of the business you are in that industry, okay? And accordingly, you take a call whether on-prem or cloud. And if you are in hybrid setup, then also it becomes very difficult that I want to develop particular application on cloud or on-prem, and that is where I think we were talking about the business critical application where you need a scalability at certain point of time, or you know that any point of time traffic can go high, down, because you need scalability vertical and horizontal both. And business critical, you want to go very fast on the CI/CD, continuous development, continuous integration, DevSecOps, etc. Then it makes sense to go on cloud. So totally the ROI based business impactful decisions. And as I said, it has to be a strategic decision.
Great inputs, Ambarish. Your thoughts?
So as I said earlier, what to move to cloud or what to move to cloud, that is a very individual business specific decision. One size doesn't fit all. And it's like that, we should not move just for the sake of that everybody is going to cloud, why should not we? It's like that, in the share market, we should hear advices from everyone, but ultimately we should invest from our own mind, either it is profit or loss. So we should have, this was my decision, not X person told me and then I lost something. So it's like that. So it has to be judicial, individual decision. And second aspect which I wanted to cover, probably because this is security, so there is normally a question that whether on-premise is more secure or cloud is more secure, right? And this part I just wanted to address. So when we talk about the security, see, my belief is, and we all know, there are three key elements when we talk about the security: people, process, and technology, right? And everybody is saying, and we all know that out of these, most vulnerable part is people, end user, they are the weakest link, which is a correct statement. Now, when we compare like whether on-premise is more secure or cloud is more secure, again, people are there as well, people are there here as well. Mistake can be incurred by cloud guys. At the same time, it can be by the on-premise guys. The only difference when it is on-premise, then we should have bandwidth. Like there are multiple other angles which are responsibility of the organization, starting from the physical security, from your physical setup, then other kind of your network security. Everything is under your ownership. While in cloud, it is a shared responsibility. Certain parts are owned by them and certain parts by the organization. And at the same time, in general, if you talk about the hyperscalers kind of AWS, Azure, or any other cloud service provider, in general, we can say they are more equipped in terms of setting proper security there in their data centers, because they are dealing with multiple customers, not only with one individual or one organization. So they have better controls in place, and probably CISO's life will be little easier when it is on cloud, when we talk about the security front. That's my thoughts on that. Yeah, thank you.
Great thoughts. We end our questions here. Because we already about 1:45, the lunch. About one question, we probably can take one question from the audience, anyone. Or we can take it over to networking, will be fine. I think that's it. We had a wonderful session. Thanks to each one of you. Any closing comments from both of you? I think that'll be great.
Yeah, so my closing comment is, if you have taken a decision that you want to move to cloud, look at the architecture, future architecture in the cloud, what you have on-prem versus. Second thing, you look at how the traffic will flow. You have the more clarity on the on-prem. If you're doing the first time on cloud, you must understand that what are the elements are going to come into the complete architecture and how the traffic is going to flow. That has to be absolute clarity. A lot of services are there on the cloud, but it depends on how you're configuring it, how you're stitching things together so that you have holistic view. What you have on-prem, similar concepts are available on the cloud. That's why it's important to understand which cloud you are going in, what are the services are making sense for you to get enabled and have a clear visibility and monitoring mechanism. Thank you.
Your closing comments?
I would just say a few words. When we talk about the cloud, probably I would say select with purpose and build with ambition. So there should be a well-defined purpose before selecting. That is most important. It should be a very judicious decision, what we want to go to cloud and what all we want to move. And then you do that with the ambition. So there should be a purpose behind that. Thank you.
Great closing thoughts. I think thanks to each one of you for attending this. Appreciate your time. Thanks, co-panelist.
Thank you so much for putting out your thoughts so loud here, sir. Now I would request Rohit Rane, Chief Information Security Officer, HDFC Pension, to come up here and present the mementos to you. Please put your hands together. Gaurav Midha, Chief Information Security Officer, General Insurance Corporation of India. A big round of applause, everyone, please. To Mr. Apoorba Kumar Patranabish, Director, Cyber and Alliances, Grant Thornton, Bharat LLP. Thank you, sir. And to Mr. Ambarish Singh, Chief Information Security Officer, Godrej and Boyce. Thank you so much, sir. We can please have a group photograph.